The 1980s marked a powerful comeback for American performance cars after the struggles of the 1970s with fuel crises and strict regulations. This was the era when car enthusiasts in America longed to see strength, speed, and personality return to the streets. In that context, the Chevrolet Camaro IROC-Z emerged like a fresh breeze, becoming a true symbol of the muscle car revival. Produced from 1985 to 1990, the IROC-Z was not just an upgrade of the Z28, but a clear expression of design, performance, and racing spirit. Its name came from the International Race of Champions, a series where the world's top drivers competed in identical Camaros. This gave the car a racing pedigree while still being practical enough for daily driving. The question is, what made this Camaro earn the nickname the Zesty Camaro, the car that reignited the flame for a new era of American performance? To understand why the Camaro IROC-Z was born, we must look back at Camaros' journey in the 1970s and early 1980s. The second-generation Camaro, introduced in 1970, carried the bold muscle car style with dramatic curves, spoilers, and daring aerodynamic details. It was once iconic, but by 1981, its design had become outdated. Sales slowed, and buyers wanted something fresher and more modern. Chevrolet decided to start over with the third-generation Camaro in 1982. The result was a car that was smaller, lighter by 400 pounds, and styled with a refined European influence. This was a major breakthrough as sales soared from 1982 through 1984, restoring confidence in Camaro after years of struggle. The new generation also delivered better handling, improved fuel economy, and most importantly, it preserved the essential sporty spirit. Yet Chevrolet knew that relying on the Z28 alone was not enough. The market was heating up with the comeback of its longtime rival, the Ford Mustang GT. The Mustang entered the 1980s with a strong 302 cubic-inch V8 engine that quickly won over young speed enthusiasts. Chevrolet needed to create a Camaro variant that was not only visually appealing, but also superior in driving performance. And in 1985, the name IROC-Z officially appeared, opening a completely new chapter in Camaro's history. This name was no coincidence. It was directly tied to the International Race of Champions, a series where the best drivers in the world competed in identical cars. Chevrolet was the main sponsor of the series at the time, and the cars chosen for the track were all based on the third-generation Camaro. As a result, the IROC's name carried racing prestige the moment it entered the showroom. For American buyers, owning a Camaro with the IROC-Z badge meant holding a piece of the high-speed racing world. It created a connection between the street and the track, turning daily driving into something that felt closer to professional competition. Because of this unique link, the IROC-Z was quickly seen as a symbol of the American performance car revival of the 1980s. From the very first glance, the Camaro IROC-Z stood out with its sporty and modern style, clearly different from the Z28. Chevrolet abandoned the traditional two-tone paint schemes, replacing them with a uniform finish across the entire body. The IROC-Z logos and thin side stripes were subtle but elegant, giving the Camaro more of a European flavor than the old-school muscle look. The front end received key updates, with flush-mounted headlights and integrated fog lamps that added a sharper and more aerodynamic character. The lower front air dam emphasized stability and improved the car's stance on the road. At the rear, the taillights were reshaped into a cleaner, squared-off design, providing balance to the overall look. One of the most striking features was the set of 16-inch, 5-spoke alloy wheels wrapped in Goodyear Gatorback performance tires. This was a significant upgrade from the Z28's 15-inch setup, improving grip and giving the IROC-Z a planted, aggressive presence that highlighted its performance ambitions. The body itself was lower and sleeker, with aerodynamic elements such as the front spoiler, side skirts, and rear wing carefully refined. These details not only enhanced stability at higher speeds, but also gave the car a visually commanding presence. The IROC-Z successfully blended the boldness of American muscle with a modern, streamlined aesthetic. Stepping inside the Camaro IROC-Z, you would immediately notice a departure from earlier Camaros. The cabin was designed around you, with a wide instrument panel and logically placed controls that were easy to read at high speeds. Large analog gauges displayed RPM, speed, and vital stats clearly, making you feel as though you were in a race car. The sport seats were a highlight. Designed to hug your body, they kept you steady through corners. Upholstery options included premium cloth or leather, giving you choices whether you preferred sportiness or comfort. The compact 3-spoke steering wheel delivered direct feedback and a confident feel in your hands. As for amenities, the IROC-Z was not a luxury car, but it had all the essentials for the 1980s. Air conditioning, a cassette sound system, power windows, and power locks made your daily driving more comfortable. And of course, the most exciting part was the V8 engine roaring to life beneath the hood. Chevrolet offered the IROC-Z with a variety of options, from basic to high performance, so you could choose the level of power that fit your needs. In 1985, the entry-level setup was a 305 cubic inch V8 with a 4-barrel carburetor producing 155 horsepower. This was for buyers who wanted the IROC-Z look with easier accessibility. A step up was the 305 cubic inch V8, high output, rated at 190 horsepower, available only with the T5 5-speed manual transmission. But the true breakthrough came with the 305 cubic inch V8 tuned port injection. Delivering 215 horsepower, it marked the first time since 1974 that a Camaro surpassed the 200 horsepower barrier. Thanks to advanced electronic fuel injection, it could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 7 seconds, thrilling enthusiasts of the era. The real peak arrived in 1987 with the 350 cubic inch V8 tuned port injection, producing between 225 and 245 horsepower with torque ranging from 330 to 345 pound-feet. This engine put the IROC-Z directly against the Ford Mustang GT with its 302 cubic inch V8 high output, but the Camaro stood out by delivering immense low-end torque. Press the throttle, and the surge came instantly, giving you a dramatic sense of acceleration. The IROC-Z was not just about straight-line power. With a tuned suspension and Goodyear Gatorback tires, it was widely praised for grip and balance. Many automotive magazines of the time described it as one of the most well-rounded American performance cars, both fast and composed. Yet what made the IROC-Z fascinating was not only the raw performance, but also the way it evolved each year. After its striking 1985 debut, the Camaro IROC-Z continued to evolve each year, showing how Chevrolet responded to market demands and the rivalry with the Mustang. In 1986, the most visible change was the federally required third brake light added to the rear glass. The entry-level option increased to 165 horsepower, while the tuned port injection version dropped to 190 horsepower. Chevrolet also gave the press a taste of a 350 cubic inch configuration rated at 220 horsepower, though it never reached showrooms. By 1987, the larger 350 cubic inch finally entered the lineup. With 225 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque, it made the Camaro a true rival to the Mustang GT 5.0. That year also brought a convertible model, while the third brake light was moved to the rear spoiler for a cleaner look. Sales soared to nearly 39,000 units, the peak of the IROC-Z. In 1988, the Z28 was discontinued, leaving the IROC-Z as Chevrolet's flagship. A new setup with throttle body injection produced 170 horsepower, replacing the carbureted version. Meanwhile, the more powerful 350 cubic inch was tuned to 230 horsepower, cementing its dominance. For 1989, output climbed again. The bigger engine reached 240 horsepower with 345 pound-feet of torque, while the smaller fuel-injected variant paired with a manual gearbox delivered 225 horsepower, an appealing choice for driving enthusiasts. By 1990, the final edition still carried impressive strength. The 305 cubic inch produced 230 horsepower, while the 350 cubic inch reached 245 horsepower, equal to the Corvette of the same year. Alongside the standard models, Chevrolet created a special racing-oriented variant known as the 1LE. The origins of this package came from SCCA and showroom stock racing rules, which required participating cars to be based on production models. Introduced in 1988, the 1LE was not about flashy options. Instead, it was stripped down to reduce weight and enhance performance. Air conditioning was deleted. Electronic conveniences like power windows and locks were absent. In their place, buyers received meaningful upgrades: larger brakes borrowed from the Corvette, an oil cooler, and later reinforced drivetrain and suspension components. The 1LE was also intentionally obscure, offered quietly and known mainly by enthusiasts. Production numbers were tiny, often just a few hundred units per year. This rarity has made the 1LE one of the most collectible versions of the IROC-Z, highly sought after by those who value authentic racing pedigree. Interestingly, the 1LE proved that Chevrolet did not just want the IROC-Z to be a stylish street car, but also intended to bring the Camaro back to the racetrack in a serious way. This move further strengthened the reputation of the IROC-Z. Yet, to stay relevant, the Camaro needed a worthy rival. That rival was none other than the Ford Mustang GT. While the IROC-Z was crafted to embody muscle and composure, the Mustang GT carried a spirit of rebellion and agility. Chevrolet emphasized stability, road grip at higher speeds, and the feel of raw American muscle every time you press the throttle. Ford, on the other hand, delivered a livelier, more compact driving experience, making the Mustang feel like a car ready for both street cruising and grassroots racing. For enthusiasts, these two were more than cars. They were opposing lifestyles. Camaro buyers often sought maturity, strength, and stability, while Mustang drivers leaned toward freedom, quick reflexes, and a touch of rebellion. This contrast gave the rivalry its charm and ensured it would endure across generations. What made it even more compelling was their similar price points. The decision between the two often came down to personality rather than specifications, pushing buyers to align with the character that best matched them. As a result, the American performance car market in the late 1980s became more vibrant than ever. The The highest sales that the IROC-Z ever achieved came in 1987, when nearly 39,000 units were sold, an impressive figure that demonstrated the car's immense appeal. This was also the moment when the muscle car wars came back to life, and the IROC-Z became the center of attention for both younger drivers and those who had lived through the golden age of the 1960s. However, sales were not always favorable every year. After the 1987 peak, the market began to shift. In 1988, numbers declined as the Z28 was discontinued, and the IROC-Z became the sole performance model. Even so, volumes remained strong enough to prove that Chevrolet had made the right decision in putting its full focus on the IROC-Z. By 1989, sales recovered slightly, showing that the model's appeal was still intact. What was remarkable is that the IROC-Z attracted a very diverse customer base. One segment was young speed enthusiasts drawn to its European-inspired styling blended with American muscle flair. Another group was older drivers who had been attached to the Camaro since its early years and wanted to relive the familiar experience in a more modern form. This crossover created a large and loyal community of IROC-Z fans. Today, looking back, the Camaro IROC-Z is not just a performance car from the 1980s, but also a vital piece of American automotive history. Its collectible value has risen steadily, especially for rare editions such as the 350 cubic inch tuned port, injection, or the limited production 1LE. Well-preserved examples with low mileage and original condition are now highly sought after, with prices climbing steadily in the classic car market. What makes it special is that the IROC-Z appeals across generations. For baby boomers, it recalls the glory days of muscle cars in a more modern package. For Gen X, it represents youth itself, tied to MTV music, movies, and the lifestyle of the 1980s. For millennials and Gen Z, the car is a gateway to a colorful past, when American cars were more than just transportation. They were bold expressions of identity. Perhaps the greatest legacy of the IROC-Z is how it preserved the Camaro's spirit at a critical time. During an era when many American automakers considered moving to front-wheel drive and toning down sportiness, the IROC-Z proved there was still room for a powerful rear-wheel drive coupe. It kept loyal buyers engaged and paved the way for the Camaro's survival into the 1990s and beyond. More than 4 decades have passed, yet the IROC-Z is still remembered as one of the cars that reignited the muscle car spirit during one of the toughest times in the American auto industry. And from that legacy, we learn how a machine can rise above technical limits to become a cultural icon. Now, the real question is, if given the chance, would you take the wheel of an IROC-Z, hear the roar of its V8, and relive the atmosphere of the 1980s? Share your thoughts, because it's that passion that keeps the spirit of the IROC-Z alive. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share it with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more exciting stories about classic cars and American muscle legends.